What's up, guys? Rob from Legitbrowniesgaming here, bringing you another vintage commentary today. And the topic for today's is actually, first of all, the game we're going to be playing today is called Verdun. It is a World War One first-person shooter available on Steam. It is more realistic than Battlefield 1, which is kind of more of an arcade shooter. This is a very realistic trench warfare, get your face shot off from 800 yards away kind of deal. So it is definitely different. But the topic of today's video is we're going to be talking about, I picked the wrong class. The topic of today's video that we're going to be talking about is a story time kind of topic. Story time with Rob, I guess we can call this. We're going to be talking about my first girlfriend and somewhat relationships in general as well along with that. So I'm just gonna preface this whole conversation here by saying I am not smooth at all. Literally probably like the least smooth individual of all time. So when you hear a lot of this stuff in this video, you're gonna be like, wow, you're an idiot. Yup. Anyway, it was freshman year of high school, and in one of my math classes there was this girl that I had been friends with. We were actually friends in middle school. So when I walked in and recognized her, I was like, oh, hey, you know, what's up? I haven't seen you in forever, because that's just kind of how middle school went. When you didn't see somebody, I kind of just forgot about them. But, you know, with some exceptions, obviously. But so I didn't see her for a while, and then all of a sudden she popped up in my math class, and I was like, oh, this is dope. So we started talking again, whatnot, like catching up and all that fun stuff. But eventually we started, you know, we continued talking, and I was like, you know, this girl's actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna give any names, by the way, so don't be like, I'm gonna figure out who this is, but you're not going to. But we started talking more and more, and I was like, you know, this girl's actually really cool. Like, this is one of the first times that I felt like a genuine connection that was beyond friendship with somebody. And I was like, well, of a female. You know, obviously I'd had like best buddies and whatnot, but that's a whole other topic for another day. I guess we'll say this was the first time I really felt like romantic interest in somebody, and I was like, you know, this chick is really cool. Like, she's just really fun to be around. She's a genuine human being, you know. So, you know, and actually a funny story about her is that at one point she, you know, since we had the same math class together, she was like, hey, you know, we have this test coming up, do you want to come over to my house and study? Which is like a very big like wink wink nudge nudge idiot, I want to hang out with you. But me being like this stupid middle schooler, or this like dumb freshman, I was like, I don't know what's going on. But I was like, well, you know, I'm going out to dinner with my dad that day, so you know, I can't do that. Which, like, I wish I could just go back in time and slap myself, but oh boy. So eventually, even you know, after we started talking more and more, we ended up dating, and it was awesome. It was just like this magical wonderland of just like super happy feelings. And you know, of course, this was my first ever relationship, so I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what the proper way to go about pretty much anything was, so I was a bumbling idiot. So credit to her for dealing with my stupidity. And it was actually, if I recall, it was her first relationship as well. So, you know, it was all good. It was just like that first relationship, like honeymoon, everything is awesome all the time. you know, nothing could go wrong kind of deal. And there was just so much fun stuff that happened, you know. Everything was cool. I'm sure everyone's experienced that at some point where it's your first girlfriend, you know, or your first boyfriend, you know, your first relationship, where you really feel like nothing could ever possibly go wrong. But of course, if everything did go right, I wouldn't be sitting here telling you this story, now would I? So, flash forward sophomore year of high school, about 6 months into our relationship. I think it was like 5 and like 3/4 or something like that, 5 3/4 of a month. And I started to notice that things weren't going as well. Like, we weren't talking as much, you know. I was still like head over heels for this girl, but I guess something changed. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what happened. And lo and behold, she ended up breaking up with me. But you know, the funny part about that, you know, if there was ever a funny part about getting dumped, although actually there's a lot of fun things about getting dumped a lot, but the funny part about it was it was actually almost like something out of a movie. Like, I vividly remember the details of how it went down. It was a Monday afternoon. It was right after school, and it was raining, and I was just sat up in my house. I was alone at the time. Everyone else was out, and I was just chilling, you know, doing whatever, watching YouTube videos or something like that. And the phone rings, and I'm like, like, what's, like, who could possibly be calling me? Like, nobody calls. Ooh, like, interesting. So I answered the phone, and it was her, and she was like, hey, can you come outside? And I was like, oh boy. Yeah, like, oh boy, there it comes, right? And you know, I walked outside. It was all raining. Her hair was drenched, and that was that, right? And so we hugged and went our separate ways. And you know, for what it's worth, it was kind of like I said, it was really weird. Like, I felt like I was in a movie, like a poorly written Nicholas Sparks movie, I guess, where I'm not the protagonist. So I went back inside and just sat on my bed, like, kind of absorbed it for a minute, and just like wept openly for like 30 minutes. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't, like, I could, like, to me, everything had been going pretty well, you know, for a while, so I really didn't know where it came from. But you know, I can't read her mind, so clearly something was up that I just wasn't in tune to. And actually, to take my mind off of it, it's, again, like, it's kind of weird. I remember all these like really strange details, but I watched, I went on YouTube and put on some All Sham No Wow. I think it was one of his skateboarding games. I don't remember if he did Skate 2 or like Tony Hawk's Underground or something like that, but yeah, it was one of those. And it was really weird. But I just kind of like wallowed for a while. Like, I didn't know what to do. You know, it was almost like the world had come to an end, crashing down around me, and I just wasn't aware of it. And of course, it was a Monday, so you know, you go to school the next day, and we had the same off period that we sat with a couple of our mutual friends with. So of course, you know, that's always fun and awkward. And I kind of just didn't really know how to function. I didn't really know if she wanted to stay friends or anything like that. But basically, I just kind of floated for a couple days, and my friends could kind of tell that I was really broken up about it. And it was actually my best friend at the, well, not my best friend at the time, my best friend, period, it was Steve, who kind of like kick-started me. Like, he kind of kicked me in the ass. He was like, you know, because I try to be a very positive individual, so, you know, I always kind of preach, like, you know, well, the sun comes up the next day and life goes on and everything's gonna be okay. You know, what seems crazy important now might not even matter in a matter of 2 months. And so he was kind of like, you know, hey, you know, you're always the one preaching this, this, and this, you know, don't preach to the choir, you know, kind of live your own philosophy. And then, you know, when he kind of brought that up, you know, I was like, you know what? You know, he's totally right. Totally right. You know, I can't sit here and pretend to be like this super positive person if I'm just gonna sit here and like wallow in self-pity, you know? So I really do give him a lot of credit with kind of getting me back on track. And then after that, you know, everything just kind of went back to normal, you know? We stayed friends. We had our mutual friends. Everything was pretty much back to the way it was before we started dating, which is kind of crazy to think about because, you know, a lot of high school relationships end like really like volatile and like I don't want to talk to you anymore and this and that, and but you know, for what it's worth, that being both of our first relationships, it ended pretty normally, and I you know, we were both mature about it, and that was that, which is really cool, you know, to think about. But you know, some time passed, and you know, I just guess like the reason that I wanted to tell this story is just because of how interesting the whole thing is, you know, from an outside perspective, you know. Of course, at the time it sucked, and I was like devastated, but you know, thinking back on it, like things could have gone so much worse, but you know, she was just a really respectful person about it, and that kind of made all the difference. And I don't know, you know, who knows if she's gonna watch this video or not. I kind of doubt it, but you know, if she's watching this video, then I guess what I kind of want to say is just thank you for being just such a nice, genuine human being and being respectful about, damn it, about the way you handled everything. You know, you came and you talked to me face to face about it. And I respect that. And I harbor nothing but good feelings for her. She's a really nice person, and just a genuine human being. And I really do hope that she finds someone in this world that's a better fit for her, I guess, at the end of the day. So I guess that's all I'm gonna say about that. But what's interesting to note is that every relationship I've had since then, the ending has been far less respectful, because I've never broken up with anybody. We're just gonna put that out there now. I've only ever been dumped, which, ooh, good lord, which sucks. I've rejected people before, but that's about the extent of that going. But like, it's just kind of crazy because, again, you know, it's two really young kids who genuinely felt for each other, and it was both of our first relationships, and she just handled it really, really well. And you know, I'd like to think that I eventually, after my friend kind of got me out of my billowing sadness, that I also handled it in a respectful and nice way. So, but then everyone after that, you know, every other girl that's ever broken up with me has done it over a text message, which is kind of shitty you know, it kind of just shows a lack of respect for the other person when you do it like that. You know, it's a lack of respect for the other person and for the relationship that you guys had, that you can just at one day just be like, nope, not happening, and just break up with somebody with a text message. It's so impersonal. It's just like, you know, at least call the other person, you know, give them a phone call so they can at least like hear some sort of emotion in your voice. But you know, and I've had bad relationship experiences since then, but you know, another point that I kind of want to make is that even if you have a really bad relationship experience, you shouldn't dismiss the idea of relationships as a whole. You know, you shouldn't, you know, all guys are pigs, all women are bitches. That whenever I hear that line, it drives me insane. It's like, you know, you shouldn't just completely dismiss the idea and dismiss humans as just all or nothing. And like, I'm not saying I don't get where you're coming from when people do that, because like I said, I've had just like a horrible experience where, like, looking back on it, it's just like, wow, I can't actually believe that somebody would do that to another human being. And I don't know if she knew if it was like completely intentional, but like it was it was not great, not a good situation to be in. But you know, at the end of the day, I wasn't like just like, oh, I'm never gonna date anyone ever again, you know, women suck, this and that, blah blah blah. Like, you know, you kind of take it like that particular woman sucked, or that particular dude sucked. Not all women or all men, you know? And don't take it out on the next person you end up being together with. Don't be like, oh, you're just doing what, you know, hit him with like the, oh, you're just like my ex line, and it's just like, yeah, like, don't. It just drives me kind of crazy, but, you know, we have about 5 minutes left in the game, you know. I could tell. Oh, I'm gonna get killed. I guess I could try and tell another story in the meantime. Ooh, good lord. Now that I've kind of, you know, said my piece about just be respectful towards them. Interestingly enough, after she broke up with me, she started to have feelings for one of my better friends at the time. And this was about, I'll say, a month and a half to 2 months after we broke up. That, you know, I could obviously tell because we all had that same period off together. And, I could tell that it was kind of going on, you know? I wasn't dumb, and I wasn't gonna play dumb. So, what's interesting about that is that I actually introduced the two, which is somewhat ironic, sealing my own doom, I suppose, but my friend who my ex wanted to date actually like approached me and asked me. He was like, hey, is it cool if, you know, I ask her out? And I was like kind of blown away. I was like, whoa, like, you don't even have to ask that. Like, that's just, it's not my place to tell you no. It's not my place to decide for you and for her what goes on. I was like, you know, kind of blown away. But then I thought about it, and I was like, you know, he was just trying to be respectful about it. And, you know, I appreciated that. And of course, I was like, yeah, you don't have to ask. Like, I don't control her, and I don't control you. And that's another thing I also want to bring up. Don't try and be a player in your ex's lives if they don't want anything to do with you anymore. You know, you don't control, even while you're dating somebody, you don't control them. You know, so, oh god. So what makes you think that you can do that after they break up with you? It's just kind of interesting, but um, yeah, it was an interesting situation to be a part of, and it kind of blew my mind. Um, and I'll admit, at first, when that whole thing came out, I was kind of pissed. I was kind of pissed. I was like, you know, she just left me like a month ago after 6 months of dating, and she's already gonna go out with this other guy. And then I was like, you know, I was kind of like, I'm kind of pissed off about it. And then I thought, stop for a second. I was like, why does this? She can do whatever she wants. She's her own person. So I kind of smartened up, and I was like, yeah, I don't care. I really does not change anything on my end. So, you know, like I said, you know, I harbor nothing but good feelings towards her. She's a genuinely nice human being, and I'm stuck in a corner. And she was a genuinely nice human being to me, you know, during and after our relationship. So, you know, I guess what the kind of overall, you know, story time moral is, a little bit of respect really does go a long way. Just be nice, you know, use your head, you know, think about it. Kind of think to yourself, if I was being dumped and I got dumped in this method, in this way, would I be mad about it? Would it hurt my feelings? And if the answer is yes, then you should probably find a more adult way to go about it. You know, and a little bit of respect, just in general, when you're dealing with people goes a long way. But, you know, like the other girls I've dated, you know, while some of them might not have been so bad, just the way they kind of handled things at the end is, you know, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, I guess is one way you could put it. So that's kind of the gist of what I was getting at. You know, you guys got to learn a little bit about my life, and you know, I'm always, you know, I don't mind telling stories like this. I think it's kind of fun, actually. You know, for just to kind of give you guys a little piece of my life, I guess you can say. So I'm definitely gonna do more story times, but you know, I was actually inspired to do this video because last night I was watching some old C-Nanners videos, and he did a video about his first girlfriend, and you know, I thought I'd share my experience, you know, being a wise old man that I am, which I'm not wise nor old at all. So, you know, take that for what it's worth, I guess. But this game is about to end in a tie here. So, thank you guys for watching. If you want more of this series, you want more story time, let me know, and I will see you guys next time.